Good morning, everybody. It is Monday, February 12th, 8:51 a.m., and we are here back again for another market open. It has been a very, very exciting week. I know everyone had a lot of fun last week. A lot of people were here on the live stream. A lot of people were with me pretty much every single day for multiple hours a day. And this week is our first official week post Palantir's monster Q4 earnings. Have a lot of thoughts on direction of the stock, a lot of thoughts on direction of the company, and also a lot of thoughts on the macro. We have a lot of things this week that is going to be happening. Number one, we have CPI data that's going to be happening Wednesday. So Wednesday morning, we'll get CPI data. Number two, we have a lot of earnings that are coming up this week. We have Robinhood, we have Shopify, we have Coinbase, we have Trade Desk, we have Wendy's, we have a bunch of these consumer staple companies, and we also have Twilio, Upwork, HubSpot. It's just a bunch of different tech companies, not the biggest tech companies in the world. You got your Roku's, Dropbox, Yelp, etc. But they are companies that are important, and they're going to round out the rest of earnings season. We have CPI, and then obviously we have everything that Palantir's price action is going to do this week, because this will be the first week post Q4 earnings. And it's going to be pretty interesting to see what does the market want? How is the market interpreting the stock? I have a lot of thoughts in terms of where I think the price can go to the upside or the downside. And then we have 1 week before NVIDIA earnings begins, which is also an entire event in and of itself, because that earnings is going to determine a variety of things. Oh, Tuesday CPI data. Why did I think it was Wednesday? No. It is, yeah, because it's right before Robinhood earnings, and Robinhood earnings are tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow is going to be Robinhood earnings as well. Okay, so tomorrow we get CPI data, which is going to be really interesting to talk about. So we got a lot of stuff to talk about. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Let's get into it. Miami Ren, Invisible Voices, Victor, Ray, Jimbo Slice, Gerald, Blake, Father Links, Dax, Derek, Martin, Adam, Iceman, JJ, Diane, Antonio. I need a pullback this week so I can re-enter. All right, well, we're going to talk about what could cause a pullback or not. Justin, Nutella Sandwich, John, Richard, LP, Lang, Puzzled, Zelena, Alex, Her Tweak, Talker, Bayray, what's up? Others Inc., Max Deuce, Katie, Thesis, Duvain, Nick Piercy. All right, let's get into it. My hair is wild today, right? Billy Bag Donut says your hair is wild. This is the first time not the first time, but I'm just not wearing the hat today. I got the haircut yesterday, so my barber hooked me up. He made my mustache super thin though. Like, I don't know why he made it this thin. Someone was like, "Are you wearing eyeliner on your mustache?" I was like, "Oh, that's mean. That's not nice." Usually my barber does a good job, but he just made it super thin. I was like, "All right, bro. That one you could have done a little bit better on." But yeah, he got the nice cut. We got it, looking pretty good. People were like, "Do you have a hair routine?" I'm like, dude, no, I've never had a hair routine. I don't put any nutrients or anything in my hair. This is just my hair. This is just like, I mean, I shampoo it obviously, but like outside of that, I feel like maybe that's the reason the hair is like legit so far, because I don't do like this crazy routine that people have. And so that's how we've been able to keep the hair as it is for 26 years. I think we got a good 20 years left until the sucker starts falling out. But for now, it's okay. For now, it's all right. So, all right. Why not get rid of the stash completely? I feel like that would look weird. If you get rid of the stash, I feel like you got to get rid of the beard, because then you just, that would look kind of weird at that point. If I would just have a goatee, that would be interesting. How much do you pay your barber? Dude, he inflated the price. I paid my barber $38 yesterday. He charged me $3 to just link up my eyebrows. Usually it was 25 2 years ago. It was 20 2 years ago. And then it became 25. I was like, oh, whatever, it's $5. Then it became 30. I was like, this is kind of weird. Then it was 35 3 months ago. And I was like, well, I'm on YouTube now and I can't look like, like I'm homeless or whatever. And then he said 38 yesterday. I was like, all right, buddy, I'm going to pay it. But this is getting a little too much now. This is a little, but I guess I don't give a tip. So I guess I'm like, there's no tip here. The 38 that's your tip, man. That's included. So that's my personal experience with inflation. All right, let's get into the first topic of the day, which I believe we should discuss, which is Palantir price action. Let's talk about all the different scenarios for Palantir price, where I think it can go, what could happen to the price, and ultimately what I think we need to all look for when we're looking at Palantir price action this week. Now, last week, obviously, Palantir had a very strong week, and that week is going to be hard to replicate in terms of going up 40%. Typically, when this stuff happens, in terms of having an amazing week, you don't have the stock follow again with another amazing week. It has happened in the past for other companies, not for Palantir, and I'm going to show you that in a second. it's going to be harder to imagine that that happens for Palantir itself. Okay, so let's look at the price action. So I want to show you guys this right here. Okay, and then we're going to talk about a bunch of different things in regards to where it can go. So right now in the pre-markets, Palantir is down 24.88. It's down 2%. We'll see if that's actually going to last or if that's real or not. And so we'll see where it ends up going. But let me show you price action from a bunch of different times that Palantir has had their stock go up. So here, this is what we're looking at, okay, when it comes to Palantir stock. So I'm going to do it in the 1 year, okay? We're going to look at all the peaks and troughs and explain what happened. So back in May, when we weren't gap profitable, we went from $7 all the way up to 16, okay? Then we saw a dip to 14. That's reasonable. Then from 14, we made our way up to the August highs of 20. That was amazing. Then from 20, we went down to 14. And we kind of played around in that 14 range for a while. We touched 18 once after the Israel-Hamas attacks, and then we came right back down to 1480. Then from 1480, we went all the way up to 2185. This is when insiders were selling a lot of shares right at that top 2185 level. Okay. Then from 2185, we fell 25%, and we got to the lows of about we touched 1598 right on January 5th, and then we stayed there for a month until we expanded to this 24 range. If this continues, more likelier than not, this 24 range goes down to the 20 range, just the same 25% drop that every time has happened so far, and then we stay in the 20 to 22 range for the next month until we have earnings. That's basically what's going to end up happening. And so at this point, when we go from 1672 all the way to 24, it does seem a little tough to imagine that from 24, it just continues going to 30. Now, there is a way that can happen, and I'll talk about it in a second, but it just seems, again, a little bit less likely given we've seen what has happened over the past, I guess, couple of times where this price action has unfolded, where Palantir stock just doesn't end up doing that. So we went from 21 again to 16. Now we're up to 24. More likelier than not, it's probably going to come down a little bit. But the question to me is going to be, where is the volume going to be on Palantir? And the reason why volume is so important here is because Palantir is a stock that has 2 billion shares outstanding. The percentage of float that is liquid is going to determine how much the stock can continue going higher. We're at a $53 billion market cap. Obviously we ran up 45% last week. If we do not have the volume to sustain the momentum to keep Palantir going higher, then the stock naturally, it's going to be very hard for it to go higher, because obviously when you have that many shares outstanding, you need a lot of people trading these shares in order for volume to go up. If you look at something like SMCI, which had 90 million shares outstanding, the volume that was chasing SMCI was astronomical, and there was way more buying pressure than selling pressure. So the shares kept going higher and higher, adding $40 billion to its market cap. It was actually a relatively easy thing for ARM to go that high once you realize that the share float was so low. Same thing with SMCI. SMCI is only 55 million shares outstanding, right? Palantir at this point is 2 billion. Let me check on those in the pre-market, by the way. ARM is up 1% in the pre-market. SMCI is up 2% in the pre-market. It's at 750. And then NVIDIA is probably up in the pre-market. Of course, NVIDIA is up another percent in the pre-market. I have some thoughts on those three companies and how the story ends, but that is my bull case for where Palantir can go higher. So if NVIDIA, SMCI, and ARM can keep adding this much value to their market caps, at this point, it does feel irrational. Like, it's not any NVIDIA shareholder that tells you, well, it's still undervalued. It's like, yeah, you might be correct, but this $500 billion in 2 days doesn't happen, or 2 weeks. Like that's just not real. And that usually ends badly. So, I mean, we're going to see what ends up happening, but that's my bull case for why Palantir can keep going higher. Is that if the volume is still chasing those types of stocks, there is no reason the volume can't chase derivative AI plays. Palantir at this point would not be trading on fundamentals. It would not be trading because, it's a cheap stock. It would be trading because people are just buying it for the hell of it to see if it can go higher, which is, I think, what's happening in a lot of these other stocks in the AI space that are going up. I don't think people actually care what SMCI does. I think most people don't even know, but they're saying, hey, it keeps going higher and higher and higher. Let's just keep buying it as well. So we're going to see what happens, at the end of the day in terms of where this stock can end up going, or where Palantir can end up going. But right now, 23.88. Now, here's another real bull case for why it does well this week. Well, You got CPI tomorrow. CPI comes in lower than expected, which I think we're going to probably get a 3.1 to 3.2 read. Last month was 3.3 as we revised it. You've got downside pressure on inflation, which is very, very good. That's obviously good for growth stocks, even though Palantir has gone up a lot. If all companies are green tomorrow, then Palantir is probably going to benefit a little bit from being green as well. And we're probably going to see Palantir have a bit more upside just in terms of the macro being in tune with what Palantir wants to do. So far, last week really wasn't a macro week from, there were some metrics here and there, but it was pure momentum. Now my question is, what's going to take it higher? Another thing that I think that we need to think about is institutional volume. If the institutions wanted to buy, in my opinion, last week they bought. I don't think a lot of institutions are going to be excited to buy right now at $24, $25, $23, because they know, like at a fundamental level, that this is a bit, much in a week. And usually they wait for a pullback. They tend to be more strategic with how they enter. I think a lot of the toots entered at $20 to $22 last week. We know Kathy Wood, obviously, that first day where we surged 30%, that was institutional to me. Also, we had 420 million shares in volume. That was not retail. That was institutional. The preceding days where we had 200 million in volume, 250, and then 150, there was probably some institutional, but the far majority of it was likely retail, just because, when you have that many shares in circulation on Monday, at 420 million, those are institutions finally getting the green light from their clients to say they can buy. After that, it's likely, more retail traders and speculators. So here's the existential question if you're in Palantir this week. Are the people that are going to be trading in this stock finally decide that it's time to leave because they have their profits, they're going to cut their losses, they don't really care, they see a little bit of bleeding, they got in at 20, the stock goes from 23 to 21, they're like, you know what, I put in $10,000, I'm up XYZ amount, I'm just going to take my money and leave? Or are people going to pile onto the trade and the trade's going to get more attractive to them as the stock goes down to 21, 22? There's going to be those two conflicting narratives. Either the dip's going to get bought as it goes lower, or it's going to surge higher and people are going to want to compound into it, which is going to keep pressure going higher. Or as it goes lower, people are like, you know what, I want to take my losses because I don't really, or take my profits because I don't really care about Palantir. I just got in because of the earnings hype, but now I'm up $20,000 and I don't really need to risk it. I'll just go invest it in something else that's a little bit more attractive right now. So that's going to be really interesting to see what happens with Palantir. And I think we're going to really need a lot of volume to be able to sustain these levels. So today's going to be a very interesting market open in terms of what happened. Jack Weiss says BlackRock has 105 million shares of Palantir at 21.28, according to Hedgeflow. Yeah, BlackRock and Vanguard, the shares they have of any company to me never makes a big deal because they're required to own a lot of these shares given all the proprietary ETFs they offer to their clients. So I'm sure they bought some more shares over the week as Palantir went up, but that's not really new news. We did see institutional ownership go from 39.3 to 40%, if I'm not wrong. And so I think that was a quote from the Bloomberg terminal that I saw. So we do have the toots. They did load up at the tunes of at least another percent. I think it can get to 45% by the end of the year, especially with S&P inclusion. But it will take time for that to end up happening. And so last week it was nice to at least see some institutions, start to buy more when it comes to Palantir. Amit, are you going to do a pre-earnings video on Hood? Well, I'll be live for Robinhood tomorrow, 3:45. Robinhood's going to be very exciting. So we saw Robinhood that was up about 5% in the pre-markets last night. So those are my thoughts on Palantir. We'll talk about it more. We'll keep getting into it. I'll have a daily Palantir episode today talking about the two deals they got last week. Yesterday, I put a daily Palantir episode up, and those are my full Q4 thoughts. I explained in the beginning of that video for 2 minutes why I haven't been able to make a video, and I actually did some editing there. I didn't just talk in front of the camera, so you should check it out. It's a fun video. But we'll have another episode today. I'm going to talk about insider selling today because the insiders have sold a crap ton of shares, and quite frankly, this is just what happens every single time with the insiders, and it is what it is. And I want to talk about the deals we got last week that were very, very good deals, in my opinion, just in terms of the long-term trajectory of what AIP ends up looking like. Here's a post real quick on the insider selling that I want to show you guys from my boy Danny. Danny is a awesome technical trader on Twitter. I would highly recommend following him. He says, here's a new stat for you guys. After his scheduled sale last week of 975,000 shares, Palantir CEO now has 48 million shares left with a stake in Palantir worth 1.1 billion. So Carp has 48 million shares left. 48,549,803. That's worth about 1.1 billion right now. So he does have 48 million shares. He sold about 13% of his stake. And Danny says here, who kind of analyzes the charts, never bet against the trend. Every time when Palantir has announced the results of the earnings, Carp sells his shares, and this has become a common practice since 2023. I still remember that Carp sold shares at 8, 15, or 20, and Peter Thiel also sold shares worth 48 million last year. On the surface, the selling of shares by the CEO may not be positive. In retrospect, Carp did time the temporary top in selling, but if you bought Palantir whenever you sold in 2023, you would still make money. I've learned not to bet against the trend. Once the bullish trend is in, I'm doing my DCA with my popcorns. To me, I feel the same, right? Like we may be seeing a short-term top at 23, 24 as the price retraces to 20 or 19, whatever it may be. But that shouldn't be sort of scary to DCA into that, because now Palantir is a different company. I talked about this in my video yesterday. The fundamentals around the company have changed. The valuation models have changed. The street price targets have changed. So many things have changed that it's just unlikely that insiders selling their shares to a market that's, hungry to buy them is like such a bad sign per se. It's just more so these are scheduled sales and, they want to take profits. Now, today, if we see some direct selling, meaning no scheduled sales, it's going to be really interesting, because at that point, I think it's going to mean that, the insiders are kind of saying, hey, this is a little bit overvalued, but we're going to see what happens from what the insiders say. Okay, let's talk a little bit about Bitcoin. Bitcoin's above 48,000. We got our boy Anthony Pompliano pumping the coin, and he says it's a guarantee. This thing's going back to all-time highs. Let's see what he has to say, and then we'll preview a bunch of earnings that we have this week, and we'll keep going from there.
Welcome back to Squawk Box. The price of Bitcoin crossing back over the $48,000 level over the weekend, 1 month this after the launch of the spot Bitcoin ETF. This morning, trading slightly lower. Joining us right now is Anthony Pompliano, founder of Pomp Investments. Good morning to you.
Morning.
This has been a bit of a wild ride, because we talked about sort of selling the news or selling the rumor, buying the rumor, selling the news. But now we've come back to buying.
Yeah. I mean, look, the verdict's in, right? Wall Street doesn't just like Bitcoin. They love Bitcoin. If you think of these assets, there's been over 5,500 ETF launches in history. Never have we had a fund get to $3 billion in AUM in the first 30 days. BlackRock and Fidelity both just did it. So 2 for the first time in history. And then if you look at Bitwise and 21 Shares, ARK, they're both going to hit $1 billion this year or this week. And so now you have 4 funds that are going to hit $1 billion of inflows. But the most interesting part of this is the inflows. I mean, these funds are doing $500 million a day of net inflows, but there's only 900 Bitcoin that is actually coming into the daily incoming supply. And so when you look at that, that's like $40 to $45 million. There's 12.5x more demand for Bitcoin than what's being produced on a daily basis.
So how much of this do you think is being generated by the ETFs themselves?
Well, I mean, you just measure the actual net inflows, right? And so you can just see there is way more buying pressure.
So you're saying $3 billion for BlackRock.
There's $4 billion now for BlackRock, 3.5 for Fidelity, and then you've got Bitwise and 21 Shares will both hit about $1 billion this upcoming week.
Total valuation, though, of Bitcoin, if
$1 trillion.
The market cap is $1 trillion. So isn't this a de minimis issue or no?
Now here's where it gets really interesting.
Most of these things aren't trading.
80%
right
of all Bitcoin in circulation has not moved in the last 6 months. You have only about $200 billion is actually tradable. And so that means that these ETFs sucked up 5% of the entire tradable supply of Bitcoin in 30 days. I mean, Bitcoin is become Wall Street's favorite asset.
Okay, I don't know if it's Wall Street's favorite asset. I think he's using a nice little terminology there, but he is right. I mean, we are seeing a lot of buy-side pressure. Remember, Bitcoin was at 38,000 2 weeks ago. Now it's at 48, and we'll talk about some of the stocks related to it in a second. But the ETFs have gobbled up, and we looked at this research on Friday. There is more finally inflows than outflows. There have been a lot of outflows from Grayscale. Now it's back to being positive on a net basis for inflows, which is, helping the asset go higher.
What were you going to say, Joe? I can tell you.
I'm not going to say. 5% doesn't sound like a lot. Here's what I'm
30
thinking.
days?
It used to take a lot for someone to invest in Bitcoin.
Yes.
It's real easy right now. And I don't know. Are we going to 90,000 in a year? That'd be too weird. People don't double their money by buying an ETF in a year. So I think it might be a currency that you can use because it's going to stay at 47,000.
Well, look, the world is changing for sure. I mean, last year, the NASDAQ was up 50%, right? And so there's definitely these big moves that happen in the traditional markets. Bitcoin, obviously, is that on steroids. But the other thing that's now starting to happen, Fidelity just came out. They've got a fund. It's an all-in-one fund out in Canada. And they're going to put 1 to 3% of that fund into the Bitcoin ETF. And so what you're going to start seeing is not just direct inflows into the Bitcoin ETFs. You're going to start seeing them putting Bitcoin into all of their funds because it, from a risk reward standpoint, drastically improves the performance of these portfolios. And they're going to start to realize if I'm lagging indicators, if I'm lagging performance, if I put a little bit of Bitcoin, 1 to 3% into this portfolio, it's going to enhance
I think Bitcoin. I think it might be good if it stayed at 47,000 for a year, because then people wouldn't worry about buying a pizza that's worth a Mercedes 2 years from now.
The joke in the Bitcoin community is the real Bitcoiners want the price to stay low so they can accumulate more of it, right? But obviously, when you have this much demand, the price got to go
a year from now. It's where
it's much higher. I think that if this continues, if we have 12 and a half times more demand than we do incoming daily supply, and remember the halving is coming, so we're going to go from 900 Bitcoin to 450 Bitcoin a day. I mean, this thing's going back to its all-time high. It's pretty much guaranteed at this point.
What's that other thing called, Becky? When we talk about the halving?
So that was Anthony Pompliano doing his part in the Bitcoin universe, basically saying, look, this thing's going higher and it's hard to stop it. If we look at, just the price action of a lot of these cryptocurrencies over the past week, obviously Bitcoin 48,100 right now. It's up 10% in the past 7 days. Again, it was down 10% 20 days ago. It's very, very volatile. Ethereum is up. You got all the other altcoins going up. Solana's back at 104. This bad boy. Look, this was really the crypto trade of 2023. This thing was $9. And Solana, actually, from the crypto people I've talked about, because I have a decent amount of friends that are engineers. And look, here's my thing about crypto. I know I poo-poo on it sometimes. I'm more bullish on Bitcoin now as a concept. I like sort of the, I was able to pay people in Bitcoin over the past couple of weeks, so I got some real utility in it. The smartest people I know in terms of engineers, they all can't get enough of crypto. I mean, like, they're just innovating in the space. Like, one of my boys, he just loves Solana. First of all, he has a shit ton of Solana. He loaded up at 13. Now it's at 104. So he's done very well. But also he just sees the real utility in an asset like a decentralized, particularly financial asset like Solana. And so, I guess we'll see what happens in this cycle. If Bitcoin's supposed to melt up, a lot of people are going to make a lot of money. One thing I did see, though, is that there is a ton of sell side pressure on Bitcoin at the $49,000 range. And so that's the reason we couldn't get to 49. We got to 48.8 last night. And then at 49, it just got smacked. Like Palantir got smacked at 25 or 24 a couple of days ago. It's just like, nope, you're not getting there because there's too many people willing to take profits. So in the context of Bitcoin, we're going to see what ends up happening. CPI coming down theoretically should be good for it since Bitcoin moves with the NASDAQ, although you should kind of want inflation to go higher so that people, have to use something as a hedge, but that's not really how Bitcoin reacts. But we'll see. CleanSpark, a company that I have some options in, is up 1.5% in the pre-market. It's $14.16. This stock absolutely exploded on Friday, up 33% in the day. At one point, it hit $14.50. And so CleanSpark, one of the mining companies that's going to benefit the most from Bitcoin going higher. The higher Bitcoin goes, the higher all these mining companies end up doing. MicroStrategy, Coinbase, all of these guys had a really good Friday. Right now, we can see they're all pretty much green. Cypher's down a little bit. Marathon's down a little bit. Riot's down a little bit. But the rest of these companies are green in the pre-market. Coinbase down just a little bit. And Robinhood's up 2.06%. MicroStrategy also up about 1%. Now, the thing about Coinbase this week, that's going to be really interesting to see. Let me know in the chat if anyone has any Coinbase here. I am worried about Coinbase on two fronts. Number one, most investors are excited for their institutional product. That's fine. But their institutional product, in my opinion, needs to fundamentally increase the volume of Bitcoin traded and the fees they get as a result of that volume on Bitcoin traded. Otherwise, their real business, which is just commissions, starts to take a hit if people aren't buying those assets as much because they're buying the ETF. So yes, the institutional investors in terms of, the BlackRocks and ARKs of the world, et cetera, will use Coinbase. But the question is, will that make up for the volumes on retail trading, which is how Coinbase makes their money? Number two, they need to become profitable. They're very close to profitability, and I think I don't know if Q4 they'll etch it out, but this year they'll definitely be profitable. But if they don't get profitable soon, it's going to be, the stock's up 5x, so the market cap of almost 35 billion. I would imagine that the company is ready to become profitable. I haven't looked at their stock-based compensation, but if they can do the same thing that a lot of the other companies have done, which is just rework, their fiscal spending and make sure that they can become profitable, I think Coinbase is going to be better. But again, a lot of people on the street are bearish on Coinbase. Mizuho Security has a $60 price target on them because essentially they feel that this business is nothing without a lot of retail trading and retail hype. Because and the question is, will that retail trading and hype go to something like Robinhood or just go to BlackRock and buy the ETF? And that is yet to be seen. We'll see when Bitcoin gets back to all-time highs what's going to end up happening, but that will ultimately determine where Coinbase is going to end up going. Tired Gang says, I have a bit of Coinbase at 60 a share. Yeah, if you got this thing at 35, I mean, shout out to you. I thought it was left to dead at 35 in February. The SEC was suing Brian Armstrong. They're still suing Brian Armstrong. But I thought that this thing is a mess. I didn't want to touch it. And the people who saw something better, like one of my friends got a ton of leaps at 35 bucks. He's nice in the money in those. I mean, those are really the times to look at an asset. Even Snapchat at $8, we should have looked at it a little bit more as a community. And we could have wrote it up to like 15 and got the hell out of it. Instead of, the people who decided to buy it at 17, now the thing's at 11.28. It's just like, dude, if it goes back to $8 again, I'm going to want to take a gamble. But the problem is it's so god awful in terms of the fundamental. It's so bad. They lost less money than they're issuing in stock-based comp. It's absolutely insane in terms of this company and what they're doing. And they have Class F shares and they don't really listen to investors or listen to feedback. It seems the only solution right now, if Snapchat really can't get it together, is to sell. But I don't even know who would buy them. I don't even know if the U.S. government would let a Google, or if they're definitely not letting Facebook buy them. I don't think they're letting Google. I mean, maybe they would let Amazon or something buy them, but that's probably not going to happen with the FTC on Amazon. Like, who would buy Snapchat realistically? Who would actually be able to afford? And I think they would have to pay at least 20 to 25 billion. And the question is, who would buy them, and who would the United States be okay with buying them? I don't know. Which is why Snapchat's probably going to exist as its independent entity for a long time. Phantom, thank you for being here. Good morning. Good morning to you. Okay, let's talk a little bit about Robinhood. Hood will never recover from the GameStop BS they pulled. I respectfully disagree. I think Robinhood is going to recover. I think, quite frankly, Robinhood has already recovered. And we're going to see what happens this week. So I'll be live tomorrow after hours Robinhood earnings. I sold half of my calls on Robinhood on Friday to reduce some exposure. I have a decent amount of calls. You guys will see on Monday or on Wednesday what the position looks like. Robinhood right now is up 2.82%. I think the only reason Robinhood is up is for two reasons. Number one, pumping a little bit before earnings. Affirm did this. PayPal did this. All these fintech stocks tend to do this before going into earnings. And then Bitcoin is up, so that's why Robinhood is doing well. Here's my bull case on Robinhood. I think as long as they don't miss the core metrics they need to miss, which is monthly active users, assets under management, revenue growth, GAAP profitability, which they're allowed to miss that as long as they can far exceed the metrics on the other side, and then guidance, they're going to be okay. I don't think they're going to suffer the same fate as PayPal and Affirm. And it's very nice that Bitcoin's nearing 50,000 right now, because Robinhood probably shouldn't, but it trades with Bitcoin because they have $3 billion of crypto under custody on their platform. So Bitcoin goes up, Robinhood tends to start to go up as well. Their assets under custody should probably go even higher, given that they have given that from Q4, given how Bitcoin has taken off. So for me, it's really a simple question of just like, are they going to trend with the fintech narrative that has happened? Affirm went up, PayPal went up right before earnings, then they both crashed. Or are they going to be able to sustain their momentum because the market doesn't just want to pile billions and billions of dollars into NVIDIA, SMCI, and ARM, and they're willing to give some money to an asset that has been further depressed and that probably does not deserve to be trading at half times cash? That's my bull case on Robinhood, and we'll see what happens. But it's going to be one of those earnings where I'm not looking at the stock, dude. I do not. You guys will have to tell me what's happening. I'm going to be refreshing my Robinhood Investors Relations. I'm going to be looking at that page. I'm not going to be looking at the chat. I'm not going to be looking at the stock. I'm going to read the numbers, and then we'll look at the stock, and we'll see how much we're down or how much we're up. Because if Robinhood goes to 14, 15, dude, I'm going to make a lot of money just based on this bet. If Robinhood goes down to 8 or 9, I think it would be stupid, and I'll probably DCA into the strategy I have. But there will be a decent amount of pain for the short term, right? Maybe that short-term pain will end out probably like June, July after the first rate cut. But we're going to be in some pain for a while. We're going to have some dead money. So we're going to see. We're going to see what happens. Does the buyback start today on PayPal? Correct. The buybacks do start today on PayPal. PayPal right now in the pre-market, I think, is slightly down. Yeah, it's down about 0.2%. So we'll see if investors start, or if the company can start buying back some of the shares. They're allowed to. Now it's just a question of if they are going to deploy it yet. And obviously they got $5 billion of, they can basically do more than $1 billion a quarter, And so as they start buying back the stock, that should hopefully create a better floor, which is in that 65-ish range instead of this 55 range. But we'll see when they begin to do it. All right, let's talk about the semis. NVIDIA is up. SMCI is up. ARM is up. And Sam Altman wants $7 trillion to be able to spend on a new company. The company is some AI, but he was making a bunch of jokes about it on Twitter. Everyone was asking him like, yo, what do you need this for? He was like, I don't know, but 7 trillion would be nice. Dude, $7 trillion, raising 7 trillion. I think it goes to show you why we're seeing momentum right now in SMCI, ARM, and NVIDIA, is because, let's look at AMD. Is AMD up as well? Yeah, AMD is up. Yeah, the semis are up. I think the market has decided that if Sam Altman wants $7 trillion, then the market's like, well, so Sam's thinking about a $100 trillion company, right? Just think about the valuation on a company that raises 7 trillion. Usually when you raise, 10 billion, the valuation might be 100 billion. If you're raising 7 trillion, is the valuation 30 trillion? And what company on the history of the world has ever had a $30 trillion market cap? It's none of them. We've barely been able to cross 3 trillion with Microsoft and Apple. So Sam's thinking on a whole different level of ambition. And I think the market, this is not the reason these guys are up right now. This is kind of just my speculation. I think the market's like, well, if Sam's thinking at that level, and he's the guy who's integrated into this whole AI revolution, then there's no reason why SMCI, NVIDIA, and ARM that are just, SMCI is a $40 billion company, NVIDIA is only a $1.78 trillion company, ARM's barely $120 billion. These guys definitely have more room to run, right? I feel like that's how the market's thinking about it. And I don't know if that is going to make sense or if that's, if that's crazy. Jess, are you live streaming Hood earnings? Yes, I'm live streaming that. I'll be live on Twitter and YouTube 3:45 tomorrow. Where is he going to get the 7 trillion from? It would be from sovereign wealth funds. It would be from governments. It would be from venture capitalists. It would be from, the JP Morgans of the world. They're the ones that only have enough cash, liquid, that could probably fund. Like, it would have to be a lot of people coming together, which begs the geopolitical questions of, like, if you're taking money from the Middle East, because the Saudis are going to fund it, right? Like, they're the ones who have all the oil money. What does that mean? Because if the Saudis, want a certain ideological direction of the company that is kind of against maybe Western values, like, this is a real tough thing to navigate. And so the odds that he raises 7 trillion are probably not as high because of the pure, the pure hardness of being able to do it. But still, if he does end up doing it, it's going to be really interesting. The semis at that point become elevated to an even more extended strength. And in my opinion, if we just look at SMCI's chart again, we looked at this last week, but this doesn't look realistic, what we're seeing right here. It doesn't look like what a stock is supposed to do. It looks like the things that you're promised the stock is supposed to do, and that's what you get into the stock market for. So like at this point, this is a joke to me, seeing a lot of these companies go up. You look at sort of the fundamentals, and yes, like, you could probably justify that the PE and the market cap and the EV is not that crazy, but it doesn't happen this quick. It's not supposed to happen this quick. It's supposed to happen over time. And quite frankly, if you're in these stocks, you shouldn't want it to happen this way. Like, I don't want Pound to go to $35 tomorrow. Yeah, it would be fun, but I know that's not sustainable. Like, that's just not real. That's just a meme at that point. That's literally a meme, and it's going to crash as hard as it goes up. And we've been through this. We know this stuff happens. On the green days where there's a lot of euphoria, but at the end of the day, there still is a market that ends up being made, and there are people that will take their profits. So as of now, no one's taking profits on SMCI. No one's taking profits on NVIDIA. Everyone wants these two to just keep going higher. And as a result of that, the trade is getting dicier and dicier and dicier. And we're just going to see, how this ends up playing out. Let's hear Walter Isaacson talk a little bit about Elon for a couple minutes, and then we'll have the market open. Elon's obviously been in a very precarious situation throughout the past couple of weeks, with Tesla stock going down 30% year to date. Here's Walter Isaacson's thoughts on what's happening right now with Elon.
Talk about this and all things Musk.
Everybody's coming at him for political reasons. I don't think that's true. I don't think there's some top-down Biden administration, let's do this and this. But I do think you got regulators in all sorts of places that generally feel, hey, I can do well by taking on Musk. They tend to not be politically aligned with him. They're part of bureaucracies, and he's got a lot of incoming missiles. This SEC one is basically about how well did he report when he started buying Twitter shares back in 2022. And you know what? It wasn't as if he had the world's greatest reporting standard saying, okay, I've reached this percentage.
Right. And it said all along he was going to be a passive investor with some of those things.
You know what? I mean, this is Musk. I was there. It's chronicled in the book day by day. He's there being a passive investor. Suddenly he's flying to Hawaii to borrow Larry Ellison's house. He gets mad at Parag Agrawal and the other things. He changes his mind. changes his mind 4 or 5 times. We can see it over a weekend, both in Hawaii and up in Vancouver. So when the SEC says, were you a passive investor or not, you know,
You saw it in action. You saw it in action. There was reason that he could have very well have been well-intentioned and truthful when he was making those statements on it.
Well, it's also true that if you've watched him, he can change his mind.
Well, Walter, if you're Elon Musk and you have an EV, you know, you invite all the EV makers, and you
don't invite Tesla.
That's probably the most absurd, ludicrous thing. There's no way to explain that.
It really got him mad, and it still.
But how do you explain it? How do you explain it? How do you explain it?
Especially when Biden.
Is how you can explain it. I'm not saying it's right.
No, I know you're not.
I think that's the rationalization.
Okay, and then Twitter. Okay, Twitter was a de facto arm of the Biden administration in the DNC, and suddenly he comes in and totally pulls the rug out from all the liberals that love to have in their own news arm. That's not going to make people happy either. I know you don't think that's true.
I don't think that's totally true, but
why not? You couldn't say anything on the old Twitter.
I think that the old Twitter did a whole lot of being politically correct and woke and stopping certain types of speech. I don't think it was
we could have used.
Including things on COVID and lab leaks. I agree with you totally.
Lab leaks,
but I don't know that
laptops and everything else.
Right. And you saw that in many newspapers. You saw that maybe even in this network some. And it wasn't because you were wholly owned by the DNC. It's because we kept too narrow the things we got to debate. And it was wrong. Okay.
So I want to go back, though, to some of the Delaware stuff. And I'm curious what you think of the compensation situation.
I find that baffling. I mean, you're quoted in my book when they give out that compensation package saying this is a real stretch. If he can pull this off, it will amaze people. If he can get through, I think there were five.
There were 5 targets, or 5 or 6 targets, both on market cap, but more importantly, I would argue operationally.
Right. How much he could put out, how much revenues, how much market cap. You had to go through all of these
and
days.
Then you had to hold it for 5 years, too.
Do it for 5 years. And he gets nothing except if he goes through these things. And he says, okay, I take the bet. 2017, going into 2018, the whole place seems to be going bankrupt. People like yourself are saying, no way it seems that he will get to these goals. He takes it, he does it, they pay him. I cannot imagine how a Delaware Chancery Court judge, I guess it is, could say, all right, do over, you don't get the money.
I agree with that in the context of what Walter Isaacson has been saying. Obviously, Elon has been, very interesting over the past couple of weeks in terms of his thoughts and, everything he's been tweeting about on X. But Tesla stock down about 1% in the pre-markets. Tesla hasn't dipped to the levels we thought it would dip. Obviously, the compensation package by the judge and them saying that he has to get rid of it. It was absolutely absurd. And it was, in my opinion, very politically based, given she was the judge who forced him to buy Twitter. If you look into the details of the case, it doesn't make any sense at all. And they're probably going to have another compensation package soon that's going to be better than this one. But in general, we have a market where that is still not refusing to destroy Tesla. Tesla was at 179 a week ago. Now it's at 193. I know it's down from 175, actually. I know it's down from 225, but still we haven't seen the 150 dip that a lot of people think is supposed to be coming. And maybe it's going to come on some macro headwinds, but as of now, Tesla's been okay and people have bought the dip. So we're going to see where it ends up going over the next few weeks and if it stays at these levels. All right, 9:30 a.m. Monday, February 12th. Thank you, everybody, for being here. The stock market is now open. Wake your ass up. Here we go. Let's get into it. Palantir starts up the day, 24.06, down 1.13%, 23.95. This is going to be really interesting to see what ends up happening with Palantir. This is its first week post-trading, and we got to see how much momentum and volume is there. There's already been 4.59 million shares traded for Palantir. We are either going to consolidate in a certain range, or we're going to go further to the downside or further to the upside. But it's going to be really interesting to see how Palantir ends up playing out as we get into the first week after Q4 earnings. 23.98 on Palantir. We'll get back to them in a second. SMCI is up almost 3%, 2.51%. It's up $18 this morning at 758. Nvidia is up almost 1%, up about $3. Snapchat's up about 3%, now at 1142. ARM is up 6.3%, 122. It is now a $126 billion market cap. I believe this is a 52-week high. Yep, it just hit 52-week high today, this morning. Now it's falling down to 121, but it hit a 52-week high. Robinhood is up about 1.9% at 1177. Amazon 173, Spotify 239, Snowflake $230, Microsoft 418. Microsoft is now comfortably above that $400 range, $3.11 trillion market cap. Absolutely incredible for Microsoft. CleanSpark is up 3% on the day. And the reason CleanSpark seems to be up is obviously because Bitcoin is up. CleanSpark now up 4% on the day, $14.52. Resistance was at $13.50 about a month ago. The stock was at $6.50 on January 19th. So, I mean, if you bought in on the January lows and you saw where Bitcoin was going, you're up more than 100% right now, just on the stock, let alone the options. So CleanSpark having a phenomenal run this morning. What else do we have? We have Snowflake at 230, IBIT up 1.5%. That's BlackRock's ETF. ARKB up 1.41%. Affirm actually flat, but it's at least a little green. Celsius 5910. Celsius is up at 1.21% right now. So we're seeing Celsius age a little bit higher. What I found out over the weekend, and I actually think Chris talked about this on his podcast with Matt, Celsius is a 40% short float. Which is just a 40% short float. I did not know this company is shorted this bad. Bitcoin right now at 48,294. SoFi 820, HIMS 993. So the fact that Celsius is shorted that badly means that the street either doesn't believe in the drink, they don't believe in the growth, they don't believe in the valuation, or they just are shorting it for the hell of shorting it because they think it's just a random drink company. It's not that big of a deal. S&P above $500 right now, 501. But that also could be a bull case. I mean, that could be a massive squeeze 40% short is just insane. When we see the S&P, or when we see more money flow into Celsius after it has good earnings, that could cause the shorts to cover, and that could be your catalyst to get this bad boy to 100. So we'll see what happens, but Celsius is heavily shorted. Where's Palantir? Palantir right under 24. It's struggling for that $24 range. There's a lot of sell side pressure at the market open. Volume is 6 million shares. That's a decent amount of volume, but a lot of that volume seems to be negative versus positive right now on Palantir. As you can see on the order flow, we have about 13 million that is left Palantir, 11 million that has gone into Palantir. And so that's why you're seeing the stock down about 1% right now on the day. AMD is up about 0.9%. PayPal 58.89, Snapchat 11.46, Nvidia continuing to go higher, SMCI continuing to inch higher as well, up almost $20 on the day. Let's go to the banks. Banks have taken a beating past couple of days, and the reason for that is because of the regional crisis we may potentially be in right here. Toronto TD is down. Nubank is up a little bit. JPM is down. HBCS is down. Truist is down 35.80. USB 40. KRE 48.06. Wells Fargo's down. SoFi 8.19. Bank of America. Yeah, all of these bad boys are down. And SoFi is, struggling with it as well, because until that regional banking crisis is not cleared up, we're going to have some issues. Now, New York Community Bank directors ended up buying some shares. It's up about 5.61%. I think one of the directors bought almost 100,000 shares, which is okay. Another director bought like 5,000 shares, and he thought that would give confidence to the market, but that's not happening. But we're seeing the NYCB go a little bit higher as well. Rocket Lab is up 4.6. It was down below 4 last week. That one's up about 6.7%. Chris in the chat is talking about the used car market. He is saying that car sales are collapsing. It'll get there, not just Tesla, but all car inventories are building like crazy. I've actually seen the same information, Chris, that I think you're looking at over the weekend in regards to used car prices. And I mean, you do have a point about that. Used car prices, not just used car prices, but car inventories are stacking up. And that is definitely not the best in the context of Tesla and, old car manufacturers. Phillips says Chris was a used car salesman. Why Yahoo Finance says Palantir has earnings today? That's wrong. Palantir already had their earnings. If they had their earnings again, I would love if they had their earnings again, because that would probably shoot it up even higher. But that is one thing to look into when it comes to used cars, and that's going to be a big metric. Let's go to Trueflation right now. That's going to be a big metric going into CPI tomorrow. CPI tomorrow is going to be one of those CPIs that is going to be really important. You've got Trueflation here at 1.37%. You've got Chris's argument about car inventory loading up and being saturated in the new and the used car market, which I think he's absolutely correct on, which, just means that you're probably going to have some issues in regards to the Fed and the lagging of their data. Shelter has been the biggest thing that's lagging. The US is reporting 3.1%. We got Trueflation at 1.37. If that finally gets down to matching what Trueflation is at, or even slightly above that, right? So maybe at 2.6, 2.7, the market's going to go euphoric. I don't think we're reporting 2.6, 2.7 tomorrow. I think it's going to be very hard for that to happen. And so if that doesn't happen, then we're probably going to see either, the market being flat, the market not really taking that into account. But if we actually see CPI come down tomorrow, it's going to be very exciting for the market. The question is, are we going to get that report? CleanSpark, wow, $15. Holy crap. CleanSpark is doing well. CleanSpark is doing well. $15, up 8% on the day. The market's excited about CleanSpark. We haven't seen $15 in a very long time on CleanSpark. So that's up now 9% on the day. I think the cat's out of the bag in regards to Bitcoin. The market's expecting a big move on Bitcoin, 48,319, and they're reciprocating with CleanSpark. So let's look at the other crypto stocks, and then we'll get back into some macro inflation stuff. Yeah, everything on crypto's green. Robinhood's green. Robinhood was 1240 last night in overnight markets. CleanSpark's obviously green. Coinbase is up 1.41%. MicroStrategy is up. Bitfarms is up. The market's pretty much unilaterally decided that at least today we're going to buy up the crypto assets because we think that there's going to move coming on Bitcoin. So there you go. That'll do it for you. That'll easily do it for you when it comes to getting the stuff to inch higher. Wow. Look at that. 15% in a day. That's crazy, dude. And this thing was up 30% on Friday. So you got 30% and you got 15% up right there. Nvidia 733. Oh my goodness. Wow. Nvidia's up almost 2%. All right. So what do you guys think in the chat? Do you think this is real or no? Do you think this is real or no? Is this real what we're seeing in Nvidia right now? They're going to have earnings on February 21st. Is this real? Let's check on Palantir. Wow, Palantir actually is holding 24. That's actually not bad, guys. I'm very surprised. I mean, we're holding 24. I know we're down 1.4% of the day, but the fact that it's holding means there's still, let's look at the order flow. Yeah, look at that. Inflow is 23 million today. Order flow, outflow is 31 million. That's why we're down about 1.1%. But you don't have massive outflow that is causing the actual collapsing of Palantir at $24. We're only 8 minutes in. I know we're only 8 minutes in, but still, it's that's the thing about NVIDIA earnings, dude. If NVIDIA tanks on their guidance, or they just, they end up just having a bad earnings, this whole market is collapsing. I mean, I don't care what stock you're in. This is going to be a tough market because I think this is one of the things that's propping up the market. It's in the SMCI. Of course, SMCI is almost going to be $800. SMCI is 770. Why not? Let's just keep giving it more. At some point, right, this just becomes so ridiculous that if they don't have the numbers to back it up, this whole thing falls apart. But if they have the numbers to back it up, then it's going to be exciting. I mean, it's going to be really, really fun to see what happens on NVIDIA. It's just going to be really fun. It's going to be really fun to see what happens. SMCI 772, CleanSpark, look at that, 15.4, up 10% on the day. It's trying to get to 16 now. Wow. That is pretty incredible, dude. That is pretty damn incredible. Amit, are people who bought puts counted in percentage of shares shorted? I don't think so. I could be wrong on that. Someone let me know in the chat. But I think if you buy a put on a company, I don't think that counts as like you're shorting the company per se. You're obviously bearish on the company, but I don't know if that means you're necessarily counted in the short float, because shorting is a very specific thing that you have to do. Buying a put is just like a strategy to be bearish, but shorting is a little bit different. By the way, the Super Bowl was yesterday. Forgot to talk about it. Chiefs won. I was right. I said the Chiefs were going to win. I said the Swifties, right? By the way, it was a good game if anyone watched it. I don't watch football. I watched that game until overtime. Patrick Mahomes, phenomenal. Chiefs won. Swifties won. We know we had to see Travis kiss his girl. It was a good game. I liked it. It was a very good game. And so shout out to anyone who's betting on the Chiefs. CleanSpark options are up about 30% on the day. So that's awesome. I'm just going to let those suckers ride, because at this point, the options are a $20 spread. So if it gets to $20, we're going to make 20,000. So let's just let it ride. Let's see if Bitcoin can keep doing what it has to do, and we'll take it from there. Nvidia now 729. Look at Palantir. Barely down. It's down 0.7% on the day. Look at that. 24.22 on Palantir. I mean, it's down almost 1%, but like a lot of people thought the sucker was going to go down to 23, 22, and it's holding up. There is demand for the stock. People like the stock. I mean, people are buying. I know it's only a day after earnings, and we're going to need a lot of, time for this to consolidate. But this thing's going up. CleanSpark 1534, Palantir 2429, Nvidia 728, Bitcoin as well, up almost 2%, 48,527. That's also helping CleanSpark right now as Bitcoin gains $300 every second. Hey, Amit, are you bullish on Shop earnings? I like Shopify. I think it's one of the best companies in the world, one of the best e-commerce companies in the world. The problem is valuation is getting a little stretched on Shopify. So I think they're going to crush earnings. I don't know how the market's going to react to it, but I do think Shopify, will have a good earnings. Their Black Friday sales, if you just look at those numbers, are astronomical. They grew at 22% year over year on a base that's already, in the tens of billions of dollars. So I think Shopify will be fine, but the stock's up 20% year to date. Like, I don't know how much room they have. And Palantir's green. Palantir's green for the day. Look at that. Palantir's green. Palantir is green. I mean, it just touched 24.41. There are buyers, dude. The buyers came in. The buyers actually came in. They didn't leave. They wanted the stock. They're here. The buyers are there. Look at that. Look at that. The buyers are here. 24.43. Now we're green. 24.43. That's pretty incredible, dude. Look, here's my thing. As long as Nvidia is going up, Palantir, I think, has momentum as well. Just being in that AI sector as itself. Now, Nvidia takes a shit. Palantir is taking a shit. Could you imagine if Palantir gets to $30, dude? Could you imagine? Like, that'd be crazy. That would be insane. Palantir now up 0.27% on the day. Enphase is up 3%. Enphase is trying to touch 130. That one makes absolutely no sense to me. This is what makes me feel like we're in a bubble right now. Seeing Enphase go up like 30% after earnings. This is what really makes me feel like the market is pricing in a rate cut way too early, and they're trying to front run it. I don't think Enphase deserves to be up this much, but Enphase is up. So Palantir 24.43. Where's Tesla? Tesla should be green. Look at Tesla 194. All right, this is gonna be a green day, folks. It looks like this is gonna be a green day. The only thing that's down is Verizon, Google, Robinhood's fighting for $12 right now. Look at that. Amazon's down. Look at this. All of Mag 7 is down, and it seems like it's rotating. Meta's up a little bit. Nvidia, of course, is up, and then Tesla's up. Google, Amazon, Microsoft, Apple are down. They're taking a breather. Seems like money's rotating out of these guys. Also, money market funds. We talked about it last week on Friday. They're up 16 billion. So we have 6.02 trillion in money market funds, with the S&P being at all-time highs, which is either a recipe for disaster or it's going to be the greatest melt up we ever see, where that money starts to chase, I mean, like that, the fact that money is collecting their 5.5% on the sides and they don't want to play in the markets means that if the markets go higher, they're eventually going to have FOMO. But if the markets come lower, maybe those people are right that, money should stay on the sidelines. So we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening. Hoping Palantir gets to 15. I don't know if we get back to 15, guys. 24.30. I don't know if we get back to 15. 15 is going to be tough. 15 is going to be tough on Palantir. I mean, look, if we get back to 15, I would gladly buy. But I don't even know if 16 or 17 is that easy, guys. It's just like, now when we get to 22, there's going to be a lot of buyers. 21, a lot of buyers. Look, here's the easy way we get to 17, 16, 15, whatever. The S&P goes down back 10%. S&P goes from 501 to 450. You'll get your $16 Palantir. I mean, it's very likely you could get that. I mean, Palantir was much lower than that last time the S&P was 450, right? But we need a legitimate correction for that to happen. We need an October, September type of crash in 2023. And Tom Lee thinks it's going to happen, by the way. Tom Lee thinks it's going to happen. ARM 128. Inspire Rights is a mid. I just bought more PayPal. Where's PayPal? Is it down for the day? PayPal. All right, it's green. PayPal's up about 2%. Not bad. 59.84. Tom Lee thinks we're going to see a bit of a correction. He predicted we would have a nice January, but he thinks February, March is going to be very tough. I mean, if Tom Lee's been right, then if he continues to be right, then we're going to see, potentially a lot more volatility here. And in general, I think everyone's expecting a correction, but the fact that everyone's expecting a correction kind of makes you feel like, well, maybe there's not going to be a correction if everyone's expecting it, right? So it's going to be interesting. Robinhood passes $12. There you go. All right. So Robinhood's melting up with crypto right now, up 3.01%, 3.94%. So that's pretty nice. You got a lot. Where's the inflow on Robinhood? You have outflow 4 million, inflow 10 million. Okay. So that's why you got Robinhood green right now. So let's see. What are the risks of buying into Hood earnings? There are a lot of risks, in my opinion. The biggest risk to me, and like it looks nice that Robinhood's up right now, right? PayPal was up, Affirm was up, SoFi was up before earnings. The problem with earnings for these fintechs is that they all melt up before earnings, and then they report one or two metrics that the street doesn't like. Like Affirm had phenomenal earnings. Guidance wasn't the best, but they had pretty damn good earnings, and the street tanked them 20%. Same thing with PayPal. PayPal had the best earnings. Alex Christians didn't know how to talk on the call. So with Robinhood, the fear I have, the reason I sold half my calls is, and I didn't want to do it. Like I really did not want to do it. The reason I did it is because I have to have some risk mitigation, because if it tanks, then it's dead money for the next 6 months. I think it'll recover, and I have time for it to, the expiration is not for a year and a half. So I have time, but I just didn't want to have that much dead money. So I sold half, and I said, look, if it does tank, I'll at least have some money to DCA into it. It's the responsible thing to do. It's not the thing I wanted to do, especially as Robinhood goes up 4%. But it's what needed to be done. Now, I think Robinhood will have a very good earnings. But if they don't, they don't. The way they do have a good earnings is they just beat on every metric. They have to have pristine metric beats across the board. And if they don't do that, it's going to be a little bit tough. Crossroads says, problem with the firm is that they're very overvalued, price beyond perfection. So a drop was warranted. I agree. And quite frankly, I think Robinhood is very undervalued. I'm just so scared because PayPal is so undervalued as well. Like the whole fintech could collapse narrative is becoming broader to me as the market. And the reason for that is not just because PayPal and Affirm collapse, is because I'm seeing all the money going into NVIDIA. I'm seeing CleanSpark now 1558. Incredible. I'm seeing all the money go into SMCI, and that money has to be rotating from somewhere. And it's likely rotating from money that people, from companies that people just don't want to have their money in, aka fintech. And we're seeing momentum, hit these guys. And I just don't want that to happen to Robinhood as well. But if it does go down, I will DCA, because that's an opportunity if Robinhood gets, beyond stupid. SoFi, where's SoFi today? So, oh, wow. SoFi's up to 830. Look at that. SoFi's melting up with the other fintechs today. 830, up 2%. Not bad. SoFi's up. SoFi is up. This is exciting. SoFi's finally going harder. Philip says, my 73% Bitcoin Palantir portfolio is working like a charm. That's actually not a bad portfolio, dude. Bitcoin Palantir, that's it. Call it a day. Honestly, by the end of the year, I think I want to get my portfolio to just be Palantir Tesla. Like by the end of the year, I want to see can I maneuver my way into just getting those two and just forgetting about it. We'll see. I like all these other opportunities that are popping up, but there's got to be some Bitcoin exposure there. CleanSpark, great exposure, 1544, up 10.7% on the day. That's exciting, dude. That's exciting. That's a hell of a day, dude, for CleanSpark. That's not easy for them to keep going. Arthur says, I will think about selling my Palantir shorts if the Titan contract is safe, if NVIDIA bring good earnings, if S&P inclusion is fixed in the 15th March reallocation. Arthur, you have Palantir shorts. I forgot. You were the one who shorted last week. 24.22. I think you're still green on those shorts right now, but I think when Palantir gets to 24.50, that's when you're red. Yeah, I mean, look, S&P inclusion and Titan is going to be a big deal for Palantir. I don't know how much of it is going to continue moving the stock, given so much has been pulled forward. But the fact that we're holding 24 is incredible, dude. Could you imagine if 24 becomes the base on Palantir? It's unlikely, because that means we would maintain a 45% move. Even if it's just for the rest of the year, that would be crazy. And people would have to be forced to buy at $24. So, I mean, look, we got to get the last time we had this type of rally, it took about 2-3 days before we collapsed. We stayed at 19 for a long time. And then we finally came to 16 the last time in November when we were at this range. But this time feels a little bit different. This time the company actually reported good numbers. So we'll see. It's going to be a Tesla influencer. No, I can't be a Tesla. I criticize Elon too much to be a Tesla. The fucking Tesla influencers can't say a single thing about Elon. They can't say they say one thing about Elon. They say like Elon tweeting about all this illegal immigration stuff. I don't care what your political view is. That's not good for Tesla shareholders. Like, it's just, that's not, I don't want to see that as a Tesla shareholder. Him tweeting conspiracy theories about gay people, like, dude, I don't want to see that shit. But the Tesla influencers will never say that. If they say that, then their entire following is going to turn against them. So that's the tough part. Arthur says he started shorting at 24.70. Okay, so you're green right now. So at 24.70, that's when your short turns bad. Interesting. You guys says the audio broke. No, the audio should be good. The audio should be good. Audio should be fine. Let me make sure. Yeah, let me know if the audio is wrong. It should be good. It should be good. If it's wrong, then if something's issue. Audio broke. 1 sec. Okay, what about now? It's good now? It's good now. Let me see. Let me see on my side. It's good now. Should be good now. It's good now. Let me see. That's so weird, dude. It's good for me. You can't hear. Yeah, refresh, guys. If you can't hear it, refresh. That was so weird. How about now? Audio's good. That was so weird. It should be good. Let's just make sure. Yeah, it should be good. Should be good. Yeah, I don't think it was me. I think it was maybe a refreshing. It was a big delay. That's weird. Okay, well, we're good now. Okay, anyway, Palantir 24.31 right now. Let's look at what else we got. Enphase up 4%, Tesla 193. The harm to going Tesla Palantir as a full portfolio is that you're relying pretty much on Elon Musk and you're relying on Alex Karp just exclusively, and that's fine. But if you want to have a little bit of exposure to some Bitcoin, you don't get it with Palantir Tesla. If you want to get maybe like increased trading activity with a Robinhood, you don't get that with Palantir Tesla. So as Palantir Tesla over the long term is probably going to be really good, but having some big tech, having some regional banks, that also helps, and that's why I like the way my portfolio is. Yeah, refresh if you can't hear. That's a YouTube thing. YouTube's being stupid today. I don't know why YouTube's being stupid. It's been happening all weekend, right? Yeah. Amid sound guys doing meth. Refresh. There, let me put in the chat. Refresh. That's so weird, dude. Refreshing worked. Damn, we lost a lot of people because of that. That's weird. YouTube got to get their shit together, dude. I'm not investing in Google for this shit. Come on now, Google. This is ridiculous. We need to make sure we have some momentum. We need to make sure this thing keeps going. Okay, cool. So that is the core thing we're looking at right here. There is momentum on Robinhood at 1205. SoFi, look at that, 840 on SoFi, up 3%. SoFi is up 3%. That's nice. It makes Google Cloud tilt too many hours of stream. Yeah, they're trying to tell me, they're trying to give me a warning. Palantir down a bit. So if Palantir ends the day at 24, I think that'll be an incredibly exciting day for Palantir, even though it's obviously down on the day. The fact that it maintains these levels is pretty exciting. CleanSpark, oh my God, it's looking to head to $16. CleanSpark is looking to head to $16. CleanSpark's actually trying to make a run for it, dude. That's crazy. That is insane, dude. They don't care. They're hustling. They are absolutely hustling. Where's the other crypto stocks? Let's look at these. Is it just CleanSpark? No, it's green across the board. Bitfarms is up 9%. MicroStrategy's up 5%. Coinbase is up 2%. Marathon's up 6%. Bitcoin's trying to hit 49,000 right now, 48,645. Iren Energy up 12%. Hut 8 Mining up 7%. They're up. Oh boy. Mark says sold 1/3 of my Bitfarms. I don't blame you. Up 9% of the day. That's not bad. Obviously, if Bitcoin gets to 60,000, then all these suckers are going to keep running. But look at dude, this stock was $6.50 a day ago. Or not a day ago. I'm sorry. January 19th. Now it's at 1570. That's incredible, dude. That's absolutely incredible. Amit went to the Dominican barber this week. It was a mistake. Oh boy, that's exciting. All right, where's Palantir? Robinhood also at $12 right now. Palantir 24.23. Yeah, holding Palantir. That's not bad. Should we buy some in the public fund? Should we buy some, guys? Remember, we have $2,000 in the public fund that we have to buy because we took it out from the options last week. Should we buy like 10 shares? Should we do it? This is the public fund right here. I mean, we're probably buying it at a top, but it's holding 24, so it's It's holding 24. This is the public fund. Everything we get from Twitter and from like really big super chats, we just dump it into the public fund. So you guys can see. No, you guys saying no, no, no. Everyone's saying no. Dude, you know me. I want to fucking buy, but you guys are saying no. All right, then no, we're not going to do it. We're not going to do it. If you guys say no, we're going to do no. Right now, how many shares do we have here? We have 2344. We have 20 shares in this bad boy. So I feel, damn, everyone's bearish. You guys think it's going to come down. You guys think it's going to come down. All right, then we're not going to buy. Wow. I don't know. You guys were such bears on Palantir. What has this chat become? I thought we were all bullish out here. You guys are bearish. You know, no, on some real shit. This is why I think we have a good chat. Because if this was some of those other crazy chats, this is how I know this is not a GameStop or AMC chat. Because you guys are actually being objective and saying, you know, it's probably a little overvalued right now. If this was a GameStop or AMC chat, they'll be fucking like, it would be ape, buy. Like, it would be stupid, right? But you guys are smart enough to know 24.35 is a little much for I was just going to do it for fun. I don't care, right? Just DCAing into it. I actually like that. I actually really like that. This is good. This is good. That means we are a little bit more objective. I mean, you'll get a better price when it sells off. Yeah, I agree. And I think it probably will sell off. I don't think this price action is sustainable. But if it is, it needs a few weeks at this level for it to consolidate here. So we'll see. We'll see if it gets there. Covered calls at 30, I think are going to be okay. For someone was asking, should I do covered calls? Look, covered calls are scary on Palantir, given how it can run. But at this point, like, let me look at some of the premiums. Let me look at what some of the premiums are. At this point, after a 45% run, I can't imagine how covered calls are not a great strategy here, especially if the market's giving you a premium. Let's do June sell call. Yeah, I mean, for $40, you're getting 55 cents. For 35, you're getting 93 cents, dude. For $30, you're getting $1.71. Now, look, $1.70, like $30 seems like it could happen. But if you actually know Palantir, $30 is a little tough to imagine. Even the $30 would be almost $65 billion market cap, right? So, I mean, the covered calls in June are paying you a lot. If we look at the weekly on February, 23rd, if you do a $30 covered call, you'll get 8 cents. If you do 28, you'll get 17 cents, which is not insane. Like, there's definitely a strategy for covered calls. You just have to be okay with your shares getting taken away, or you have to be ready to roll them because these bad boys could definitely go away. 35 feels safer than 30. Yeah, I agree. $40 strike is probably the best option. I mean, you really want to make sure you're safe here. Where's NVIDIA SMCI? So Palantir's now green on the day. NVIDIA SMCI. Robinhood's 1201. Today's the day for crypto. And obviously today's always the day for NVIDIA and SMCI, because why not? CleanSpark's up 13%. It's trying to get to 16. I don't know if I like this or I hate this, because usually when it goes up this much, you know, the crash down also ends up happening. We've seen this with CleanSpark many times, but Bitcoin's trying to hit 49,000 right now, 48.8. So, I mean, maybe CleanSpark just says we don't care, and we're gonna keep going. Yeah, we're seeing a ton of momentum here. Where's CleanSpark? 1577. SMCI 774. S&P is still above 500 as well. S&P still above 500. NVIDIA 726. Where's SMCI? Up 5%, dude. SMCI is up $33 today. SMCI was flat all weekend, so it's past time to run. Yeah, basically, SMCI is flat all weekend, so it's time to run. This is stupid, dude. This is stupid. This is absolutely insane. This is just insane, dude. Just insane. Like, is anyone in SMCI? Put in the chat. Bitcoin 48.8. Can we get to 49 here? If we get to 49, there's going to be a lot of selling. But if we can get past that, then we can get to 50. Now we're talking, dude. 50,000 Bitcoin, 500 S&P. That would be a hell of a way to start 2024. Hoods tomorrow. Robinhood's tomorrow. When will Palantir start dropping? Any clue? I think it's going to take a couple of weeks to see what the downside is. Right now, let's look at the order flow. 74 million has left. 67 million has come in today. Volume is at 17 million. So we've got it to be green. Look, people are willing to buy at this price. That's why it's holding this price. People are willing to buy. So again, that $17 range people want to get to. I don't know. I don't know if we get there. I don't know. But then again, it's only been, a day after earnings, a couple of days after earnings. This is not real price action to me. We're going to need a few weeks of seeing where Palantir consolidates at. And if it stays in the 24 range, then all right, that's awesome. Then now we get to buy a 24 and the upside is, different. But it's very likely it could also just come down as well. Just because, again, this is 50% in a week is not really sustainable in any company, except if your name is SMCI or NVIDIA, then it's fine. CleanSpark was just hit 1594. So at 16, there was a nice little wall, 1594 on CleanSpark. Then it just came crashing right down to 1564. AMD is up on the day. SMCI is up now, 5%. SMH, the semis ETF, is up 204. Look at that. SMH, the ETF, this is an ETF. This is not a stock. This is an ETF that tracks the semis. If you just bought this in the beginning of the year, you're up 18%, dude. That's not sustainable. That's not sustainable. 18% on an ETF within a month? Come on, dude. Come on. That is just insanity at some point. And I don't know if I'm crazy for saying it's insanity because the numbers are real. Palantir's now green. Look at that. 24.57, up almost 1% of the day. Look at that. There you go. There's the buy side momentum. There's the green. CleanSpark up 100% in a week. Yeah, that's not reasonable either. But CleanSpark moves with crypto, so I get it. Crypto's up really nicely. Crypto's up 10% in a week. But SMCI and NVIDIA don't have any damn catalysts. It just seems like the market chasing. That's it. That's it. I don't want to buy CleanSpark up 100%. I agree. I don't think you should. I think CleanSpark up 100% is a recipe. You're looking for disaster buying that up 100%. But the thing could keep running. That's the fun part about this whole thing. It could just keep going because it doesn't really need to stop if crypto's going. ASML, buy or hold. I like ASML. They're a very important player in the semi space. But even these guys, like year to date, ASML, I think it's up at least 10%. ASML. Oh, sorry. 10% is for, the average blue chip stock. ASML is up 28.4%. At some point, we have to ask ourselves, are semis in a bubble? NVIDIA, how much is NVIDIA up year to date? ASML up 28%. SMH up 20% or up 18% as an ETF. NVIDIA, 47% in a month. Okay. SMCI year to date, 177%. AMD year to date, 20.6%. I mean, this is not their earnings were good, but their earnings weren't that good. I just feel like semiconductor demand is not slowing anytime soon. I agree, it's not. But do the stocks deserve to run this much, this quick? The bull case is, if the demand's not slowing down, then investors want to front run it. They get in and they let it ride. And this the greatest AI revolution ends up not being in the software plays. It ends up being in the semiconductor plays. Or we're going to have a proportion of a correction of epic proportions. And it's going to be pretty intense. I think these runs are front running NVIDIA earnings. I think you're probably right. But still, it just feels like a little too much, dude. And I feel bad because I feel like I'm sounding super bearish here, but I don't mean to be sounding super bearish. It's just, I've never seen anything like this since the 2020 era. And that was obviously a meme. I mean, people made money, but it was not real, right? The thing collapsed pretty badly. So and everyone's like, well, the numbers are there to justify it. We know the numbers are there to justify it, but are the numbers able to justify this much growth? I don't know. It's a lot of momentum we're seeing. Where's Palantir? 726 on NVIDIA. Palantir is 24.63. We're up 1% on the day. We are not slowing down on Palantir either. We are not slowing down. There we go. Palantir 24.63. What else do we have on Palantir? So SoFi 836, Robinhood 1198, S&P 501, NVIDIA 725, Bitcoin. Look at that, $100 away from 49. CleanSpark, if it touches 49, CleanSpark's probably hitting 16. Rocket Lab 47, and AMD 173. Enphase, where's Enphase? And phase 129 up 5.41%. And phases up. And phases up with Palantir. I'm seeing all weekend that increasingly analysts are seeing Palantir explosive free cash flow is sustainable for several quarters ahead. Yeah, I mean, definitely the free cash flow is enough to justify their ability to say that they're not overvalued at this point. The problem is their net income is not going to be good this year. It's not, unless they're super sandbagging, but maybe the street thinks that's the case. And their growth is still 20%, right? Their growth is not 30, 35%. But again, if Snowflake's worth 70 billion, why can't Palantir be worth 50 billion, right? Snowflake right now, 76 billion. So if we see a correction, it's not just going to be in Palantir. It's not going to be an isolated thing in my opinion. It's going to be across the board, you know? And so it would really take a decent amount of momentum to get the entire market to come down as well. When is the Bitcoin halving? In April. So it's like 60 days away. 60 days away. People jumping into NVIDIA because they're more than likely going to split. I think if NVIDIA splits, then this thing gets really fun. If NVIDIA does a 5-for-1 split right now or a 4-for-1 split, this gets really exciting because a lot of people that don't have $720 but have $200, even though obviously it doesn't make any sense, but the options chain I think would explode. A lot of people will get excited to buy NVIDIA, quote unquote cheap. It's not cheap at all, but you know what I mean? Like the price looks cheap and people get excited. So I think if management wanted to make this fun, they would just split that sucker and let people go at it. But I don't know if they would. I don't know if they would end up doing it. Amit, will you finally buy NVIDIA after the split? I don't know if it makes sense to buy NVIDIA, dude. Like, unless we have a real 10-year horizon on this, which I don't want to hold this thing for literally 10 years. I just have like other places I want to place my money. Like, I don't know, dude. It just feels like it's too much too quick. And this earnings is going to really be the tell-all. You know, this earnings is going to be, there is a world in which they tank on earnings, dude. There is a world in which their guidance on earnings is not good enough. And the street's like, all right, we've already pulled forward so much demand. We can't keep, giving the stock this level. It's beat every price target. Everyone said 700. It beat 700. I think someone has an $850 price target. But if they crush earnings and this bad boy goes to 900, or 1,000, and it officially becomes worth more than Amazon and some of these other players, well, I guess we're just in that world. And then maybe is the time to load up on some NVIDIA and just say it is what it is. But at this point, it seems like a lot of people are buying it just to chase it. And I don't know if that's the right move to do. When is the right time for buybacks for Palantir? Again, guys, let me say this. I feel like everyone keeps asking this question, and it's like, you got to really think when you ask this question. Why would Palantir buy back $1 billion of a $53 billion company when the company's valued at $53 billion, when they have a ridiculous amount of liquidity waiting to buy their stock? They don't need to. I mean, I would love if they don't dilute us as shareholders, but odds are buying at 24, you're buying it at a pretty, rich valuation. And number two, you don't need to reduce the float right now. Like you're not a company that needs to reduce the float, right? Like Robinhood needed to reduce their float last year because they weren't GAAP profitable. So they were like, all right, let's do all these different things to get to that level. Let's do, be fiscally responsible. Palantir is GAAP profitable. Palantir's been GAAP profitable for 5 quarters. They've done everything they needed to do, and now they're growing. So buyback should happen when, they're at a point where their free cash flow is absolutely phenomenal. Buyback should happen when, they're really secure that the company should be worth a certain price, at $24. I don't think they're secure yet, especially since insiders sold a ton of shares. It's going to take a while before buybacks happen. And it should. We should not have buybacks anytime soon. That would be a bad use of that capital. We need that money to collect income on interest for GAAP profitability. So I think Palantir should hold that billion still. Buybacks when they're able to keep the float stable versus SBC. For now, bank that revenue. Yeah, you got to remember, we're even though we have a ton of free cash flow, we're issuing a ton of stock as well. So I think last quarter the free cash flow was like 250 million, something like that, and we issued 132 million in stock, right? So that dilutes the free cash flow that we're getting, and so we have to get to we have to grow a lot more and just bank in a ton more revenue and free cash flow in order for buybacks to do any meaningful damage. Otherwise, $1 billion is going into their stock, and you're buying it for no reason, right? It's not the time to really reduce the float like that. Oh, here we go. 49,000. Where's CleanSpark? Where is CleanSpark? CleanSpark's 1585. Look at that. 49,000 on Bitcoin. 49,000 on Bitcoin. We're here. 49K. It's been a long time. Remember last time we got here was the day the ETFs got approved. And the SEC's Twitter got hacked. Like, that was the last time we saw this. Wow. Here we go. 49K on Bitcoin. This should help a lot of assets that benefit from crypto. Let's go to crypto right here. Yeah, look at how green that is, dude. Look at how green that is. Oh my God. On the left-hand side of the screen. Amit, you stop becoming a Tanner and saying we. You don't work for Carp. You're an investor. No, but the reason I say we is because as an investor, I'm part of the company. So I like saying we. Like I can't just say the company. I would say, well, to me, it's like, look, if I'm going to hold this company for a long time, then to me, it is a we because we're part of it, you know? With Google, I'm not saying we, fucking Sundar. I'm not going to say we on that. You know, even if I'm, you know, even if I own Nintendo, I wouldn't say we. That was a good one. That was a really good one. The OGs remember. That was a good one. Arnie says, I also use we. I feel like I'm involved. Yeah, dude. Like when you really feel involved in a company, you're going to use we. You know, we own the company. So that's why I like saying it. Now, if you don't have an emotional attachment to these companies, then, and even then, even on Robinhood, I say we, even though like I'm not, you know, holding Robinhood for the very long term. But yeah, it is what it is. Okay, there was definitely some selling pressure there, 48.8 from 49. So we got down about $200 on Bitcoin. But but I like that. If you own equity in the company, you are part of the company. Yeah, dude, there was some dude on what it is on LinkedIn. he put you know, capital allocator or shareholder of like every stock in his portfolio, Amazon. So he had all these nice logos on his LinkedIn, looking super cool. But he just owned their stock. Like it wasn't, you know, he's not actually part of the company. But it was funny because like, what a way to juice up your LinkedIn portfolio by just saying, you know, you're an early investor in all these companies. You know, and then someone says, well, were you there in the seed round? It's like, no. You know, it's early for Robinhood. You know, even though I wasn't an angel investor, it's earlier. So it'll be okay. So we'll see. Don't say we if you own Baba, you ain't. Dude, Baba's been struggling. Is it up today? Baba's been struggling. It's up 2.5%. Baba had phenomenal earnings. I mean, their guidance sucked, but they've been struggling. Palantir 24.35. So Palantir selling off. So people at 24.50, it gets rejected every time. Let me see the walls on Palantir. Let's go there. Let's go to the walls. Let's see what I'm looking at. Palantir at 25, how many shares are waiting? 37,000 shares. So it's not going to be the easiest to get through 25. It is possible though. I mean, it's not impossible. But the fact that people are willing to play in this game at 24.35, at 24, at 24.50, at 23, maybe we're getting a new floor to the stock. Maybe we are. We are the community. I am on the cap table. Yeah, that's why I say we, dude. It's fun. It's like you're part of the whole game, you know? That's why we're doing it. Tesla's falling fast. Where's Tesla? 192. Okay, so Tesla's down. SoFi's having a hell of a day, dude. 837. That's nice. That's nice for SoFi. Okay, so let me ask you guys, let's get your advice on this. Let's see what you guys say about this. So in regards to SoFi, I eventually have a decision to make. I think I know what you guys are going to say, but let's show you guys. So some of you guys that are new to the channel probably don't know, but my sister gave me 12 grand to invest for her back in the summer. And I dumped it into SoFi at the bottom when it was like $4 or $5 into these options. And so this is what her position is looking like. I took out her 12 grand. So we turned it into 24. And as you can see, the market value right now is 11,690. So we gave back her initial. So this is free money. If SoFi goes to shit, she's not going to lose anything. When do you guys think we should sell this? It's at 11,620. My thoughts were, okay, SoFi gets to $12, which I don't think is crazy to say, but let's say it gets to 12. If I wait out until November, December-ish, she's looking at 20 grand, as you can see right here. If SoFi gets to $12. That's where I'm thinking. And I think I should just be patient because the end of the year is probably going to be good. But if SoFi tanks the bed for the rest of the year and they can't really, I mean, even if I wait, like let's say SoFi goes to $11, even if I wait till September, that's, you know, around 15,000, which is way more than 11. That's another $5,000. What do you guys think? Rock Labs up 8%. You guys think sell it now? I think selling it now wouldn't make sense, because I think selling it now is just like, I feel like SoFi, it expires in 20. Like there's so much time left on this. And do we think SoFi is at least $10 by the end of the year? I think so. I think it could happen. I don't think that's crazy to say. If SoFi is not $10 or like $12 by the end of the year, that is an absolute failure, dude. That is a failure. Anthony Noto is going to have to explain that, because that's tough, dude. Bitcoin 49,000 again. CleanSpark 1595. We hit 1613 on CleanSpark. Wow, we hit 1613. But if SoFi can't be $12, dude, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough. Sell later, long term. Oh, that's a good point, June. I bought those in July, so if I can wait it out till August, she'll save even more money on that. That's a good point. That's a good point. Amit, when are you gonna do the options for dummies video this week? I'll let you guys know. It'll be this week, probably Thursday or Friday. Let me put the channel where it's going to be posted in the description, but I'll also just, I'll update you guys immediately so you'll know. But this is the channel, and so it'll be posted here. But I'll let you guys know when it's here. Okay, so Chris's counter argument: we makes you lose rational thought and more prone to become incredibly biased. You lose rationality the more you say it and identify with it and become emotionally invested. So I agree and disagree. I think, well, here's the thing, Chris. If you are planning, so here's where I disagree with you. If you are planning to hold a company for 10 years, like I am with Palantir, like other people are with SoFi, like other people are with Nvidia, you should be a little emotionally invested, right? Because if you become just rational, you would have sold Palantir at 18 or 17, right? Because at 18 or 17, where their growth rates, Palantir was absolutely overvalued. But if you're a bit more emotionally invested in the mission, the philosophy, what the company is doing, etc., then I do think it's okay to be a little emotionally invested. Now, if you're only planning to hold it for a year, like Robinhood, Robinhood's a trade for me. I'm not really emotionally invested in Robinhood, and that's why I sold half my calls the other day, right? Because I was just like, you know what, I need to risk mitigate. But when it comes to a company I really want to hold for a long time, I think it's okay to be a bit emotional. First of all, it just makes the journey more fun if you're actually part of a community. That's like a really, at least for me as a content creator, that's a very important thing. That's something that matters more to me than the actual gains on the stock, quite frankly. And that's just, for life reasons. But number two, it's just like, if you're not a bit emotional about it, you're going to sell for the hell of it when, cart bangs on the table. So to me, it's like, no, dude, you got to have some emotion into this. We is for investors, they is for traders. Yeah, I don't think that's the worst thing in the world. I don't think that's the worst thing. Now, again, I think even the analysts on CNBC sometimes, they use the terminology in terms of how they think of the. You think Bill Ackman doesn't consider himself a we in Chipotle? That guy gave a lot of money to Chipotle. He is absolutely a crucial part of the we in Chipotle, in my opinion. And he's been there for almost 11 years now, right? So Adam says we're a cult here, Chris. You have to deal with it. Yeah, it's also true. We're a bit of a cult. It isn't. But I think we're one of the more rational cults on the internet. Like when I said, hey, should I buy Palantir at 24? And you guys were like, nope, wait. If this was a GameStop cult, they would have said buy it at $400, right? Like, I think we are a bit more of a rational cult. Oh, Carp just published an article? Arnie, you just texted me this. Whoa. Carp just published an article? Whoa, on Time Magazine. Wow, Alex Karp published an article. Oh boy. Silicon Valley has a Harvard problem. Dude, we just got a 15-minute article by Karp. I bet you this is similar to his what do you call it? His book that's going to come out soon. Oh, this is exciting, dude. He's calling out everything that's been going on in regards to, people saying it's okay to kill Jewish people and stuff. I would imagine that's what this article is coming to. That's not bad. Okay, so I'm not going to read this live. because this is a long article. It's a 15-minute read. Yeah, their forthcoming book, Technological Republic. This is so exciting, dude. Your CEO is publishing an article on time. He's publishing a book this year. This is so exciting. So exciting. This is probably him calling out the ridiculousness by these Harvard professors saying that, you know, we don't care if you say bad things about Jewish people. Like, this is ridiculous. So that's going to be a fun read. Okay, so what I'll do, Palantir, by the way, 24.49. What I'll do is probably tonight I'll go live on Palantir Deep Dives and I'll read the article and we'll dissect the whole thing. I haven't done a deep dive episode in like 2 weeks because obviously earnings has happened, but we're on episode number 8 on deep dives. So usually I do that from 8:30 to 9 p.m. every day. So we'll do that again today and we'll read the article. That's exciting. That's super exciting. Again, Time Magazine, a lot of people read it. That's not, you know, just your average investor. So it's a different type of audience and it's good. Like Carp's reading it. Also, that's an article that can go viral, dude. Silicon Valley has a Harvard problem. Think that's a nice title. That's a hell of a title. Silicon Valley has a Harvard problem. He's basically calling out everything that's happening. You know, this is why it's so important, like, to have a CEO who actually believes something. When you have a message and a message you stand for, a message you actually care about, it's exciting. You know, it's like a real purpose to what you're doing. And it's very hard to have a meaningful message that you want to convey to the world and actually believe in. And Karp's had a very consistent message for the past 5 years now in terms of his public appearances. And he's been refining his thoughts and his ideas around his messages, his metaphors, his analogies have gotten better. So now it's coming to full fruition in terms of the actual book and the actual articles he's putting out on a mainstream stage. This is when, you know, I remember we had a debate on Palantir Weekly about Karp being on social media. And it seems like he's embracing social media now, but not through a Twitter or an Instagram, but more through just like getting his thoughts out there and then eventually letting it proliferate on, you know, media platforms. SoFi up 3% of the day. So that's going to be exciting. It's going to be exciting to read that book. Bitcoin struggling for 49, but it's basically at it, you know, 48,000, 48,009. Where's CleanSpark? CleanSpark 1588 on CleanSpark. Okay. Not bad. Not bad at all. Not bad at all. This is exciting. This is cool. 1590 now on CleanSpark. Palantir 2450. Palantir's green, dude. People are buying. People are freaking buying. Order flow, 120 million came in, 114 million went out today. And there you go. You're up 0.9%. Let me show you the order. Can I do this on? Let me see here. I was trying to see. I don't think I can get the order flow for that day. But I wanted to show you guys the order flow for yeah, let me see here. Can I get there? 2/8 will give me the order flow for that day. No, it's not going to give me for that day. Okay, so I'll try to find it out the other day. But I was trying to show you guys the order flow on the day post Palantir earnings when it went up 30%. It was a lot of people buying. Like, let's just say that it was a lot of people buying. Theo says, I'm so addicted to the show. Theo, thank you for being here, dude. Being devil's advocate, how is this different from Elon's tweets? Well, so Elon is tweeting about transgender people and, you know, illegal immigration. Karp is writing long form messages where it's not 140 characters. You actually have to read it to be able to like dissect the message. Whereas Elon, I mean, this is what Elon tweeted last night, which, look, I don't care about. I love Elon. I don't really care that he tweeted this. It's funny to me. But I mean, this is what the dude tweeted yesterday. This is not what Karp's tweeting. Okay. Elon tweeted that he likes boobs. Right? Look, now this is fine. It's Elon. It's at the end of the day, it's whatever. It's Elon's gonna do Elon, and I don't really care. And I don't think that's bad for Tesla shareholders for him to tweet this. Don't get me wrong. But this is not, Karp's not fucking around, right? Like, Karp's legitimately trying to make an argument. He'll be funny in his speeches, right? And he'll play around, he'll use jokes, but he's not doing that type of shit. So that's the difference between Elon and Karp. That's the difference. What platform do you use? Robinhood. Yes, I use Robinhood. Robinhood. This is Webull, what you're looking at right now, but what I used to trade is Robinhood. Robinhood 1195. So the crypto stocks are all up right now. They're doing great. Bitcoin 49,000, CleanSpark 1590. What a time for Bitcoin to be at 49, dude. We really needed Bitcoin to do well before Robinhood earnings, because even if their earnings are not the best, as long as Bitcoin is up, there's a little bit of a floor in terms of how low it can go, because the market's just not going to let it tank. I mean, at this point, Robinhood moves with crypto. If you look at their charts, it's very identical. So it's actually a hedge against Robinhood having crappy earnings, because even if they do, Bitcoin gets to 52, 53, Robinhood's going to go up. And if their numbers for Q4 revenue on crypto goes up, then it's really, going to be a lot better for the market to digest it. What else do we have? All right, so Palantir right now, 24.53. What's going to be really interesting is if we can get back to 25. I think it's going to be hard, but if we somehow get back to 25, then then maybe 23 becomes the floor. People were talking about $20 becomes the floor. Dude, I don't know if 20 becomes the floor. Obviously, it's going to take a couple of weeks. It's got to take a couple of weeks for this to consolidate. But it's going to be interesting. It's going to be very interesting. By the way, did you guys see this thing last night on Biden's Twitter? Biden tweeted, I thought Biden got hacked last night, okay? But this is what Biden tweeted. He tweeted him with the Bitcoin eye emojis. And I was like, uh-oh, this is like Gary Gensler at the SEC. The dude got hacked. The dude absolutely got hacked. But that's not what happened. Apparently, there is some dark Brandon meme series that Biden has embraced. And like when he tweeted this, doesn't it look like he's Bitcoin bullish? But that's not, it was so weird, dude. I was just like, what is he doing? This is very weird. But he didn't get hacked. It ended up just being some meme that they're doing. And this is Travis Kelce yelling at what's his name, Andy Reid, yesterday for not being in the game. So obviously we had to meme it. You know what I mean? We had to meme it. SMCI and NVIDIA can't just keep going to the moon, or can they? Right. And then we had Taylor Swift when her boyfriend caught the ball last night. And so that was me seeing Palantir crack through 23. I think I was a bit more excited than Taylor Swift. But if we see Palantir crack through 25 this week, I'm going to be even more excited than Taylor Swift in this picture. Nonetheless, we got some good memes from the Super Bowl. Palantir at 24.50 right now. 24.50. Robinhood at $12. All right, guys. I think we're going to end it out here. We'll see how the momentum kind of ends up playing out, but not bad for the day. I mean, we thought it would kind of hit to the downside, and we're staying strong at 24.50, and Bitcoin at 49 is also keeping the momentum stay strong for Palantir as well. Or, well, not for Palantir, but for the broader market. And Palantir is just holding up as well. Either we're in a big bubble and it's going to pop and it's going to be epic and it's going to be tough. CleanSpark now $16. Look at that. Or this is a bull market. Nothing's stopping it. We're going higher and higher. And a correction would be healthy, but maybe we don't get that correction for a while. So, and if we do get a correction, maybe we get a new floor to a lot of these companies in terms of their stock as it dips on that correction because they're dipping from a higher price. So we will see what happens. Palantir 24.58 on the day. Link the CARP article. Yeah, let me put it here. And then we'll do word of the day. And then we'll be back for the market open. For the market close later today. All right, here's the CARP article. And then word of the day. Word of the day, interesting one. Word of the day is perambulator.
Perambulator.
Okay, perambulator. That's a different. A baby carriage. The parents carefully strap the newborn into the perambulator. Has anyone heard this word if you have kids? They admire the stylish design of the new perambulator. A baby carriage. Interesting. Not much we can do with that word, but we got if you're ever buying something for someone's baby shower, you can say, oh, let's buy a perambulator instead of a baby carriage. That's better. Rocket Lab also up 10% of the day. Palantir, where is it ending? Palantir 24.51. Not bad. All right, good stuff, guys. I will see you guys for the market close. We'll see how the market ends up going, and we'll keep going from there. Palantir daily episode will probably be posted in a couple hours, and I'll see you guys in a little bit. Thank you, everybody, for being here, and I will see you in about 4 or 5 hours. Bye, everyone. Have a good one.